live in interesting times.
For the headlines.
Tiger Woods makes a dramatic comeback from a career-threatening injury and scandal by winning the 83rd Masters, capturing his 15th major title to end an 11-year major drought.
Sudan's military rulers face heavy pressure from protesters and Western governments to hand power to a new civilian government as a mass protest outside army headquarters enters its 10th day.
The operator of Japan's crippled Fukushima power plant begins removing atomic fuel from inside a building housing one of the reactors that melted down in 2011.
And the cherry blossoms in South Korea.
I'm Alma Angeles, wherever you're watching from around the world. Thank you very much for joining us.
We welcome our viewers here in the Philippines and around the world. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sam Cepeda.
And now to the news. First up, Tiger Woods makes a dramatic comeback from a career-threatening injury and scandal by winning the 83rd Masters on Sunday, capturing his 15th major title to end an 11-year major drought. Take a look. Winning a 5th Masters title and his first since 2005 cemented a fairy tale comeback to the pinnacle of golf for Woods, whose career imploded after a 2009 sex scandal and nagging knee and back injuries that required a total of 7 surgeries. Woods fired a final round 2 under par 70 to finish on 13 under 275 for a one-shot victory to capture a $2.07 million top prize and the green jacket symbolizing Masters supremacy. An All-American trio of 3-time major winner Brooks Koepka, world number 2 Dustin Johnson, and Xander Schauffele shared second on 276. As Woods went on a charge on the back 9 at Augusta National with birdies at 13, 15, and 16 to win by a stroke and claim his 15th major and 5th Masters, social media lit up in a frenzy of congratulations. Congratulations to @TigerWoods, tweeted the U.S. President, who played a round of golf with Woods earlier this year, a truly great champion. Congratulations, Tiger, former President Obama tweeted. To come back and win the Masters after all the highs and lows is a testament to excellence, grit, and determination. I'm literally in tears watching @TigerWoods. This is greatness like no other, tweeted 23-time Grand Slam tennis champion Serena Williams. Knowing all you have been through physically to come back and do what you just did today, wow, congrats a million times. I am so inspired. Thank you, buddy. Very few people really know what @TigerWoods has been through to get back to this point, tweeted 4-time major champion Rory McIlroy, who finished in a tie for 21st on Sunday. Other U.S. sports stars were quick to join in on Twitter. A big congratulations to @TigerWoods for winning the Masters. NBA icon Magic Johnson tweeted, "The roar of the Tiger is back." Congrats, Tiger. What a performance, the New England Patriots 6-time Super Bowl winning quarterback Tom Brady said. Woods finally found time to respond to all his well-wishers late on Sunday night. He said, "I can't thank my family, friends, and fans enough for their support. Having my family by my side today is something I will never forget," he posted on his Twitter feed @TigerWoods, along with a picture of him wearing his newest of 5 green jackets. To not only be able to play again, but to be able to win again is something I will forever be grateful for. This jacket sure is comfortable.
Sudan's Transitional Military Council has arrested members of the former government. Sudan's military rulers faced heavy pressure from protesters and Western governments to hand power to a new civilian government Monday as a mass protest outside army headquarters entered its 10th day. The organization has that spearheaded the months of protests leading to Bashir's fall, the Sudanese Professionals Association urged the council to immediately transfer power to a civilian government. It said the resulting transitional government and the armed forces must bring to justice both Bashir and officials from his feared National Intelligence and Security Service.
We are here not to remove al-Bashir or Ibn Auf or anyone else. We are here to remove the entire system, a system that does not give service equally to the people, a system that leaves people under poverty, a system that does not allow Sudan as a country, as a rich country with human and natural resources, to act as any other country in the world.
I'm not going to sleep until we see the previous government have been done. But when I saw new government I accepted, and I like new government. But I like how I like them. When I see them, they do the things we want, not the things they want to do. We are asking ourselves, and we are hanging around here until we saw what they are going to do.
The protests began December 19 with demonstrators accusing al-Bashir's government of economic mismanagement that has sparked skyrocketing food prices and fuel and foreign currency shortages. Sudan's Defense Minister Awad Mohammed Ahmed Ibn Auf said a transitional military council will run the government for the next 2 years. The leader of that council, Lieutenant General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, said Saturday he is committed to transferring power to a civilian government within 2 years. He also ordered the release of all prisoners jailed under emergency laws ordered by the ousted president. Al-Bashir, who came to power in an Islamist coup in 1989, imposed a nationwide state of emergency February 22 in an attempt to suppress the protests after an initial crackdown failed. The government said weeks ago that 31 people had been killed, but the group Physicians for Human Rights estimates the death toll is at least 60. Al-Bashir is wanted by the International Criminal Court on charges of war crimes, crimes against humanity and genocide in connection with atrocities in the western region of Darfur.
حتى يحكموك فيما.
In other news, a Kiwi nurse working for the Red Cross who was kidnapped in Syria over 5 years ago could still be alive. Louisa Akavi was snatched along with Syrian drivers Ala Rajab and Nabil Bakdounes while traveling in a Red Cross convoy delivering supplies to Idlib in the northwest of the country. Has been at risk of execution all that time. Her captors were the Islamic State terrorists that carried out several beheadings. The ICRC said it believed they were abducted by the Islamic State group.
The staff are Louisa Akawi, a dedicated and committed nurse from New Zealand who has been working for the Red Cross ever since 1988. And also Ala Rajab and Nabil Bakdounes, both Syrians who have been working for us as drivers, and both of them, I know, are loving husbands and caring fathers. I want to tell you, Louisa, Ala and Nabil, we have continued searching for you throughout all these years, and we won't give up hope to see you once again among us. Unfortunately, and despite all our efforts, we don't know what's happened to Ala and Nabil ever since 2013. As to Louisa, we know that she is held captive by the Islamic State group, and we have repeatedly received credible information about her whereabouts.
New Zealand said it disagreed with making the abduction public but did confirm it had dispatched Special Forces unit to Syria to search for Akavi. Now this has involved members of the NZDF, New Zealand Defence Force, drawn from the Special Operations Force, and personnel have visited Syria from time to time as required, according to New Zealand Deputy Prime Minister Winston Winston Peters. New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern expressed disappointment at the information released by the ICRC and refused to answer questions at her weekly press conference on Monday.
Look, you'll forgive me, I hope, for not commenting on that case. It absolutely remains the government's view that it would be preferable if this case were not in the public domain. Those are decisions for them. All I know, of course, is that, as I've said, the New Zealand government maintains a position that it would be better not to have this case in the public domain, and I won't be commenting any further on it.
She's still alive.
Again, I'm just simply not commenting on this case. I'm not commenting on the case.
Now, Akavi was held by a group of ISIS killers called the Beatles by their hostages because of their English accents, and led by a man known as Jihadi John, who is now dead. In July 2014, there was a chance of escape, a secret raid by elite American Delta Force commandos, but they failed to find the hostages and were forced to retreat after a gun battle with ISIS. And this is why her name was kept secret by the New Zealand government. The brutal beheadings of the other hostages that shocked the world. One by one, her fellow prisoners were executed. They were James Foley, an American journalist, Stephen Sotloff, another American journalist, David Haynes, a British aid worker, Alan Henning, another British aid worker, Peter Kasig, American aid worker, Japanese citizens, Haruna Yukawa, a security contractor, and Kenji Goto, a journalist. Muwat Al-Kasazbe, a Jordanian Air Force pilot, was burned alive in a cage. And Kyla Muller, an American aid worker, although ISIS claimed it was from an airstrike. Now, all came from countries that took part in the war against ISIS, just like New Zealand. John Key announced that he would send troops there in February 2015. There are now 3 known hostages left: the British journalist John Cantley, Italian priest Paolo Dologlio, and Luisa Akavi. A report from the Times in February this year said ISIS are using hostages such as bargaining chip. The fates of John Cantley and 2 other Western hostages missing for years in Syria are part of Islamic State negotiations to escape annihilation in one of its last pockets of territory. The 2 others referred to by the Times were the Italian priest and Luisa Akavi.
A domestic worker sacked after a cancer diagnosis was awarded damages by a Hong Kong court Monday in a case that highlighted exploitation of foreign women toiling as maids in the wealthy financial hub. Baby Jane Alias of the Philippines was diagnosed with stage 3 cervical cancer in January and fired the following month by her employer, who cited the illness as the reason for termination.
I want to finish my contract because I don't want also to break, because I have 5 children, only me, I am single mother. But this is what happened. The termination letter, I feel lost, Mom.
The 38-year-old single mother of 5 instantly lost the right to health care and has had to regularly apply for visa extensions as she navigated Hong Kong's legal and immigration systems while battling cancer. She has been undergoing radiation therapy 5 days a week, along with chemotherapy 1 day a week. Alias and her former employer, who was absent from Monday's proceedings, reached a settlement of 30,000 Hong Kong dollars, or that's $3,800, at Hong Kong's Labor Tribunal for sickness allowance, medical fees, and wages in lieu of notice. She has separately filed claims with the Equal Opportunities Commission for wrongful termination and loss of earnings, which could be brought to the city's district court. Alias previously told AFP that she spent just over a year working for a family of Pakistani origin who ordered her to work every day of the week. She was also said She has also said she was routinely given stale leftovers to eat and slept on a thin comforter in a cluttered storeroom.
Because I'm so very big, ma'am. Before I come here, I lost my weight so fast. Because my employer said, "Oh, you cook only 2 cups of rice because only 4 people eat." But we are 5 inside the house. But you need to cook only 2 cups because you cannot count.
Nearly 370,000 domestic helpers work in the city. Most are poor women from the Philippines and Indonesia performing menial tasks for low wages while living in often miserable conditions. Allianz was accompanied to Monday's hearing by supporters and family, including her 8-year-old daughter who clung to her waist. Her plight has generated widespread sympathy in Hong Kong, and a fundraising campaign organized by her sister's employer, Jessica Cutrera, who has so far raised more than 900,000 Hong Kong dollars for treatment. A large part of Alia's medical bills have been covered by hospital charities, but expensive surgery will likely be needed to operate on her tumors.
The operator of Japan's crippled Fukushima power plant on Monday began removing atomic fuel from inside the building housing one of the reactors that melted down in 2011. Now, this is the first time for Tokyo Electric Power Company, or TEPCO, to remove fuel from any of the 3 buildings housing reactors that underwent meltdowns after the earthquake and tsunami in northeastern Japan about 8 years ago. And it comes 4 years behind schedule. TEPCO plans to move several of the 52 unused fuel units stored in the pool to a transport container during the day. The pool also holds 514 units of spent fuel. The container will then be transferred to another pool within the plant compound. Workers will conduct all the removal procedures by remote control. In the worst nuclear disaster since Chernobyl in 1986, reactors 1, 2, and 3 at the Fukushima Daiichi power plant melted down after the deadly earthquake and tsunami that struck Japan in 2011. The tsunami killed around 18,000 people and caused widespread devastation, and the nuclear meltdown forced the evacuation of areas near the plant. TEPCO estimates it will take 2 years to remove 566 units of nuclear fuel, most of which are already spent.
Prime Minister Shinzo Abe says the government will continue the task of decommissioning the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. Abe visited Fukushima Prefecture on Sunday to inspect the decommissioning work and the ongoing reconstruction of the prefecture. This month, an evacuation order was lifted for part of Okuma, one of the 2 towns where the nuclear plant is located. He attended a ribbon-cutting ceremony for the opening of a new municipal office in that town. He encouraged workers taking part in the decommissioning project and handed them a letter of thanks. Abe later told reporters that his cabinet ministers are united in reconstructing Fukushima Prefecture as well as northeastern Japan after the 2011 disaster. He said they have reconfirmed his administration's basic policy that they are all reconstruction ministers. He said that although the decommissioning work has been making steady progress, there are still many problems to cope with. This includes the disposal of contaminated water accumulating in the plant compound. He said he plans to visit the prefecture again at the start of the torch relay for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. Regions affected by the disaster have struggled to attract back residents who fled in the wake of the meltdown, with many still concerned about radiation despite government assurances.
In other news, British Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt met with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe on a visit to Tokyo. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe asked the UK to minimize the negative impact of its departure from the European Union on Japanese companies and the broader global economy. Take a look.
今回、合意なき離脱が回避されたことを我々は感謝をしています。メイ首相のですね、尽力に敬意をしていきたいと思います。英国の EU 離脱が日系企業やまた世界経済への影響、また悪影響が最小限となるよう期待しています。
On the matter of Brexit, as you know, we are very determined to avoid a no-deal outcome because we recognise that Japan has many investments employing hundreds of thousands of people in the UK, and we know that Japan has helped to transform British manufacturing industry for the better, and we want that strong cooperation to continue. And I also want to help to strengthen our excellent bilateral relationship. Prime Minister May sends her very warmest wishes. There are no two countries in the world that have a closer outlook on global affairs than the United Kingdom and Japan, and I know we have much to talk about.
In or out? The repeated delays to Brexit are a nightmare for map makers and guidebook printers who have to decide how to depict Britain's relationship with the European Union. Here's more.
Avec le drapeau, là ça va. Un petit peu moins coloré, les garçons? Non, ouais, ça va, ça marche. Ça passe?
Nous avons chez nous au moins 10 ouvrages qui ont la carte de l'Europe, de l'Union européenne. Donc c'est un peu compliqué, donc nous avons gelé ces 10 ouvrages que nous remettrons en route dès le moment où nous aurons toutes les certitudes de cette histoire.
J'ai envie de dire que les articles avec la Grande-Bretagne dessus vont peut-être un jour être collector, comme cette règle par exemple, dont j'ai encore quelques exemplaires. Et donc il y a encore la Grande-Bretagne dessus. Or ma prochaine commande sera sans la Grande-Bretagne parce que le fabricant les a retirés de cette règle.
U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo ended his tour of South America with a brief visit to the Colombian border city of Cucuta, crossed through by thousands of Venezuelans fleeing crisis under President Nicolas Maduro. Take a look.
Mr. Maduro, open these bridges, open these borders. You can end this today. I hope that you care. I hope that you will care enough when you see the horror, when you see the tragedy, to change your ways and to leave your country. There is a plan in place for free and fair elections inside of Venezuela, and for a return to private sector-led growth, for a restoration of normal life and economic opportunity and prosperity inside of Venezuela. But before these things happen, Maduro's usurpation must end.
The chief U.S. diplomat set off for the final leg of his tour of South America, which began Friday in Chile, in Cucuta, where he met with refugees alongside Colombian President Ivan Duque. Pompeo called upon Maduro to open the border to allow humanitarian aid to enter and step down. Branded illegitimate by over 50 countries who instead recognize opposition leader Juan Guaido, Maduro closed 4 frontier bridges connecting Venezuela and Cucuta on February 22. Now that came after National Assembly leader Guaido declared himself interim president on January 23, kickstarting a power struggle with Maduro, of which the entry of humanitarian aid has been a defining issue. Pompeo promised that the U.S. would continue to use all political and economic means to help Venezuelans.
The United States will continue to utilize every economic and political means at our disposal to help the Venezuelan people, using sanctions, visa revocations.
There are fears for safety when two buildings collapsed in a hillside neighborhood near Rio de Janeiro, a region hard hit by heavy rain and flash floods, killing 2 people. The adjoining 4-story structures were inundated as the Itanhanga neighborhood, 18 miles, or that's 30 kilometers west of downtown Rio, was drenched along with the rest of the region 3 days ago, resulting in multiple deaths. At least 2 other people were injured when the buildings collapsed, said the firefighters, who managed to pull 3 people out alive. Neighbors said the buildings crumbled early in the morning.
A minha filha estava na sala tomando café e escutou. Falou, mãe, tá caindo, tá caindo. Eu falei, tá caindo o quê? Eu estava dormindo, acordei assustada. Tá caindo o quê? Ela, mãe, tá caindo, não sei. A gente estava achando que era a mata que estava descendo. Mas não, era o prédio que estava caindo.
Muzema is hard hit to reach because of the widespread damage caused by the unusually heavy rain across the region, which began late Monday and continued into Tuesday, triggering flash flooding that turned some streets into raging rivers and swept away vehicles. Heavy runoff from neighboring hills gushed through some apartment buildings and shops, leaving behind mud and debris. Like many poor neighborhoods west of Rio de Janeiro, Muzema is run by militias loyal to criminal gangs that use violence to enforce their rule. The gangs sell land rights and control access to city services such as water and electricity.
Libya's UN-backed government said its forces shot down a fighter jet belonging to forces of strongman Khalifa Haftar south of the capital Tripoli. Take a look. A source for Haftar's self-styled Libyan National Army, or LNA, confirmed the loss of a MiG-23 aircraft but attributed it to a technical failure. The source said the pilot had ejected with his parachute and was safe and sound, denying reports he had been captured by the UN-backed government of National Accord. The LNA launched an offensive 10 days ago to seize Tripoli, the headquarters of the GNA led by Fayez al-Sarraj, which is recognized by the international community. In addition to ground fighting, both sides conduct daily air raids and accuse each other of targeting civilians. The clashes have left 121 people dead and 561 wounded since the offensive began on April 4, according to a recent World Health Organization assessment.
Finland's leftist Social Democrats won a razor-thin victory in Sunday's general election, holding off the far-right Finns party, which surged on an anti-immigration agenda. With 100% of ballots counted, the Social Democrats, led by 56-year-old former trade union boss Antti Rinne, picked up 40 seats in parliament after campaigning on a ticket of fierce opposition to the austerity imposed by the previous center-right government of Prime Minister Juha Sipilä.
Hyvät ystävät, ilman hyvin suunniteltua kampanjaa, upeita ehdokkaita eri puolilla, upeita ehdokkaiden tukiryhmiä, tämä tilaisuus ei olisi mahdollista voittojuhlana. Hyvä pojat, tytöt!
Meanwhile, the Finns party, which won 39 seats, had focused almost entirely on an anti-immigration agenda under the leadership of hardline MEP Jussi Halla-aho, who also decried the climate hysteria of the other parties. Only 0.2 percentage points separated the two parties in a heavily splintered political landscape where the Social Democrats were the biggest party with 17.7% of votes. They will head a government for the first time in 16 years, though it has been a junior coalition member since then. The Finns party has seen a surge in support in recent months, urging people to vote for some borders and pledging to reduce Finland's asylum intake to almost zero.
Welcome back. European Union Trade Commissioner Cecilia Malmström has recently crossed the wires, saying that the EU is ready to move ahead to the next phase of trade negotiations with the United States. The EU's 28 member states had struggled for months to agree on a mandate to open transatlantic talks, with some fearing the delay would restart a trade war with US President Donald Trump. EU sources said France voted against the mandate and Belgium abstained during a meeting of EU ministers in Luxembourg. Pursuing a limited trade deal is a key element of a truce negotiated in July that came close to imploding last week after the U.S. threatened $11 billion in fresh trade tariffs against Europe. Paris voted against the mandate, worried about domestic blowback, just months ahead of a European election set for May 23 to 26. French President Emmanuel Macron has insisted on the U.S. first signing back up to the Paris Climate Accord after Trump dumped the pact in 2017, infuriating Macron. But only a qualified majority of EU members was needed to support the talks, meaning France's none remained largely symbolic.
Toppled Malaysian leader Najib Razak returned to court for the second day of his high-profile corruption trial Monday, with the former premier accused of plundering large sums of scandal-hit state fund 1MDB. The 65-year-old finally went on trial this month over his alleged role in looting the investment vehicle, the first of several court cases he is expected to face over the controversy. The main witness called Monday was Azizul Adzani Abdul Ghaffar, an investigating officer from the central bank, who was part of a team that raided the branch of a local lender, AmBank. The officers seized documents related to accounts held by Najib at the bank, accounts belonging to SRC International, and accounts held by another company. The stolen money from SRC was allegedly sent to Najib's accounts at AmBank. After the trial was adjourned for the day, Najib's chief lawyer Muhammad Shafi Abdullah said the prosecution would have to prove the ex-leader knew the money flows or illicit to convict him.
No, today is nothing. Today is nothing much. They're just saying that they've gone to the bank, they got some document. But interpretation of document is important.
Najib has consistently denied any wrongdoing over the looting of R1MDB. The U.S. Department of Justice, which is investigating the 1MDB controversy, as money was allegedly laundered through the American financial system, believes $4.5 billion in total was looted from the fund. Malaysia has also charged Wall Street titan Goldman Sachs over the scandal, alleging the bank and its former employees stole billions of dollars from 1MDB.
Currently, South Korea is providing free education for elementary and middle school students. But recently, South Korea's presidential office, the government, and the ruling Democratic Party agreed that the country will now provide free education to all high school students starting in 2021. Our EBC correspondent in South Korea, Hanani Sabado, reports from Seoul.
South Korea is one of the countries included in the PISA rankings run by the OECD with the strongest education systems worldwide. South Korea spends more money on education compared to other countries. The country provides free education from primary and middle school students. Recently, the government finally agreed that the country will provide free education for high school as well, starting in 2021. As the current administration of President Moon Jae-in looks forward for the nation to become more compendious in the years to come, providing free education for high school students is one of the topmost priority. It is expected that yearly education expenditures of a household with a high school student will reduce. A household is expected to save 1.58 million won, nearly $1,400 per year. According to the plan, 17 cities and provincial education offices across the country would have to shoulder a budget costing 946.6 billion won, equivalent to approximately $830 million in the coming 2 years. Some economic experts did raise their concerns towards the setback that can be faced due to the financing of free education. But the government claimed that there would be no problem in financing the free education project. This is Hanani Sabado, EBC correspondent from South Korea, and I am one with 25.
And here's Ben Bernaldez for our sports news.
Tiger Woods completed an epic comeback from career-threatening injury and scandal by winning the 83rd Masters on Sunday, capturing his 15th major title to end an 11-year major drought. The 43-year-old American superstar, who underwent spinal fusion surgery in 2017 due to chronic back pain, sees his first major title since the 2008 US Open. Winning a 5th Masters title in his first since 2005 cemented a fairy-tale comeback to the pinnacle of golf for Woods, whose career imploded after a 2009 sex scandal and nagging knee and back injuries that required a total of 7 surgeries. With fans chanting his name, an emotional Woods walked off the 18th green and hugged his mother, Kuldita, daughter Sam, and son Charlie, just as he had embraced his late father Earl thereafter his first major victory at the 1997 Masters. Racing to finish before an oncoming thunderstorm, players created their own electric atmosphere, spectators roaring repeatedly for sensational shot-making on one of golf's iconic stages. Woods fired a final round to under par 70 to finish on 13 under 275 for a one-shot victory to capture a $2.07 million or 1.82 euros top prize in the green jacket, symbolizing Masters supremacy. An All-American trio of 3-time major winners, Brooke Koepka, world number 2 Dustin Johnson, and Xander Schauffele shared second on 276. And in the NBA, Milwaukee showed why they are the Eastern Conference kingpin, and Giannis Antetokounmpo proved he is worthy of a league MVP as the Bucks trampled all over the Detroit Pistons on Sunday. Antetokounmpo had 24 points and 17 rebounds in just 24 minutes as the Milwaukee began their hunt for a playoff championship ring with a 121-86 blowout of the Pistons in Game 1. Antetokounmpo and the Bucks ran over the hapless Pistons all game, and the 35-point deficit was flattering to the visitors. Detroit tried everything to stop the Greek Freak, and the only time they did was when center Andre Drummond showed him to the floor with both hands, which got Drummond thrown out of the game by the referees. Antetokounmpo was 9 for 17 from the field and 1 of 5 from the three-point range. 7 Bucks scored in double figures. Eric Bledsoe had 15 points, and Brook Lopez and Chris Middleton each added 14 points. George Hill came off the bench to score 16 points. Detroit played without forward Blake Griffin, who has missed 5 of the last 8 games with a sore knee. Elsewhere, the Portland Trail Blazers snapped their 10-game postseason losing streak, defeating the Oklahoma City Thunder 104-99 to claim their first playoff win in 3 years. The Blazers have endured a miserable record in the playoffs in recent years, suffering back-to-back first-round sweeps in 2017 and 2018 against the Golden State and New Orleans. On Sunday, however, Portland's 3-year wait for a postseason win came to an end, as Damian Lillard inspired a battling victory over the 6th-seeded Thunder. Lillard went 9 of 21 from the field on his way to 30 points in 38 minutes, adding 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals. He was backed by CJ McCollum, who added 24 points from 9 of 24 shooting, with 6 rebounds and 3 assists. Turkish international Enes Kanter, meanwhile, reminded his former Thunder teammates of his talent, posting a double-double of 20 points and 18 rebounds. Also, Kyrie Irving scored 20 points as the Boston Celtics shrugged off injury absence of Marcus Smart to defeat the Indiana Pacers 84-74. Irving was among 5 players to make double figures as Boston drew first blood in the best-of-7 series opener at the TD Garden. Boston had gone into the game reeling from news that Smart is set to miss the opening 2 rounds of the playoffs after suffering a torn oblique. However, the 4th-seeded Celtics had too much firepower for the 5th-ranked Pacers on their way to deserved victory. And these are the stories for EN Sports. I'm Ben Bernaldez, and I'm 1 with 25.
And finally, in our news, spring has finally come. Cherry blossoms are making their annual appearance in Korea, attracting scores of visitors. Our EBC correspondents Arvia Biero and Christine Jewel Uyabut is there for the report.
The season has officially changed. The padded and heavy jackets are tucked away. That means the temperature becomes slightly warmer and everyone is going to enjoy the warm weather, which is definitely awesome. Every year, the streets of South Korea come alive with different colors twice. An area of oranges, yellows, and reds during the fall season, and the city is scattered with beautiful soft pink cloud-like canopies for all to enjoy during the spring.
Normally, spring here in Korea celebrated with the pink petals. During that picturesque period, Korean people and tourists gathered, amateur and professional photographers captured the beauty and serenity of the cherry trees, and people usually have a picnic under the trees to mark the start of spring. And just like the cherry trees, social networking sites like Instagram and Facebook lit up with pink from around the region as the first blooms came into focus. Each year, the South Korea Cherry Blossom Festival celebrates the annual flowering with tours, a picnic, and more free events. All bloom at slightly various times, but you can expect most to be in full bloom on the first or second week of April. But the full bloom does not last long, only lasting a week or 2, assuming we don't get significant wind or rain. So, if you would like to enjoy the stunning pink-lined streets, you better get out there soon.
Christine Jewel Uyabut.
And I am Arvia Biero, EBC correspondent from South Korea, and we are 1 with 25.
Thank you, Christine and Arvie.
Thanks, guys. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Tumblr. Also, check out our boards in Pinterest and pictures on Instagram. I'm Sam Cepeda. Thanks for joining us.
And that's it for tonight's broadcast. Tamal Mo Angeles and
we're 1 with 25.